So I just thought that was really shady. And Nike, of all people, talking about sustainability, please. Hey guys, what's up? It's Aime. Welcome back to my channel. I do video essays on the intersection between climate change and social justice, and today we're talking about greenwashing. So this past month was Earth Month.
So clearly last month was not Earth Month. It is currently the end of August. I filmed this video a couple months ago and I'm now just getting to editing it and uploading it.
Which meant that everyone was so excited about climate change and global warming and protecting the Earth, including companies that are destroying the Earth. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about greenwashing and the types of greenwashing that we saw in April. Just kind of having a conversation on the effects of greenwashing, how companies do greenwashing, and then I'm also going to be looking into some examples from April of greenwashing of different companies. If you're excited, get your tea, your apple cider, as always. I always film super late, so I never actually have tea when I'm filming, but I love me some apple cider. Drop in, get ready, and let's have a conversation on greenwashing. So greenwashing is basically false advertising. It's companies trying to say that their products or services are sustainable when they're not, and this can either be done really directly by saying, oh, it's eco-friendly, it's recycled, it's eco, it's green, it's whatever. There's different phrases that people use. I'll put them on the screen so you can see the kinds of words and phrases that companies use to greenwash. But it's also indirect messaging through the packaging or the delivery or the advertising of different products to make you think it's sustainable without them saying anything about sustainability. So this can be them using like a meadow, like that's like the classic example in a lot of fashion brands. They'll have girls in pretty dresses frolicking in the meadows, and it makes you think, oh, it's so green. This can be a company packaging something unsustainable in green packaging, putting a leaf on it, just making it look sustainable without saying it. And all of these are greenwashing, because if a product is unsustainable, then it's unsustainable, and making it look green does not make it green at all. So I have a whole video, which you can click right here, I always forget. So in that video, I'll go super in depth into what greenwashing is and the different types of greenwashing. But today we're going to be focusing on examples of greenwashing that I saw in April, and just kind of laughing at these brands trying to be sustainable. And some of them got absolutely trolled in like the Twitter comment sections or replies, or on Instagram comments, the people saying, what are you talking about? You're not sustainable. You do not get to talk about sustainability. So that's what we're going to be going over in this video. And then I'm also going to be talking about what I think the implications of greenwashing are, and also some solutions for you as a consumer to kind of go about this kind of eco-capitalism is what I like to think about it, because it's companies trying to capitalize on people wanting to be sustainable, and they're profiting off of it without actually doing anything sustainable. But before we get into the specific example, I just wanted to go over some kind of more overarching examples of greenwashing that we saw. But I'm wondering if I go through this list, you can kind of start to see the pattern of how companies greenwash. So the first one, which I think is the biggest way that companies greenwash, is by coming out with a sustainable line or an eco-friendly version of their actual product. The reason I think this is greenwashing is if a company wants to be sustainable, they have, especially super big companies, they have all the money to make their actual operation sustainable, to produce sustainable products, but instead they choose to continue producing cheap and unethical products and then come out with a sustainable line to market to people who want to be sustainable. I just see such a problem with this, because if these companies that put out sustainable lines would just make their actual lines sustainable, that would have such a huge impact. But instead they choose to come up with small sustainable lines so they can profit off of people who want to be sustainable without actually doing the work and putting in the time and effort to make their whole operation sustainable. So the example I wrote down is Dove, and they came out with this like deodorant that's zero waste. So the kinds of refillable ones, I actually have one I can show you. So this is my deodorant that I use. It's by the brand by Humankind. It's so cute, right? And like super stylish, but it is a refillable deodorant. I don't want to show you the deodorant part because it's kind of gross, but you just kind of twist this middle part, you can see like the ridges, and you can take it out and then refill it with the carton, and the carton itself is like cardboard, so you can compost it or recycle it or whatever. And what Dove did is they came out with a version of this deodorant, but they didn't change all the other deodorants. So they're still producing unsustainable deodorants, but now they have an eco-friendly version for someone who wants to be sustainable. So I think this is greenwashing, because if Dove actually cared about the planet, they would look at their other deodorants and be like, okay, maybe we shouldn't sell these things. So that's greenwashing 101, and I'm sick and tired of companies doing this. Fashion companies also do this a lot, like H&M coming out with like a conscious collection where they have like cotton dresses or whatever. but the rest of their operations is still unsustainable. Like, what does that do? Like, literally, who is that helping? The second way I see greenwashing is companies buying sustainable brands. This one's a little bit more subtle and a little bit more complicated, because at the end of the day, if a product is sustainable, then that shouldn't stop us from buying it. But we should also be conscious of not supporting like corporations that are unsustainable, because if you purchase a sustainable product from a sustainable brand, but the parent company is unsustainable, then your money is eventually going to get to that unsustainable parent company. So this one's a little bit more tricky. If your only option is a sustainable brand with an unsustainable parent company, then do it. But I think the better option is to just put your money towards smaller companies that are themselves sustainable and haven't been bought out. So the biggest example of this, and I talked about it in this video, is Unilever, which bought out Seventh Generation, which is a sustainable laundry/cleaning company. So I bought like a laundry detergent from Seventh Generation once, and I don't think I will support them again, because they're actually owned by Unilever, which is a very unsustainable and unethical company. I talk a lot about Unilever in my video on kind of the worst companies. Why did I use quotations? They are like some of the worst companies and the kinds of unsustainable and unethical things they've done. So I don't want to be supporting Unilever, and by supporting Seventh Generation, you are indirectly supporting Unilever. So I just think it's really shady when companies like Unilever buy out sustainable brands, because they're just doing it for the money. If they wanted to be sustainable, like I said earlier, they would come out with more sustainable products rather than having like Tide, which is like the non-zero waste, unethical, unsustainable plastic version of laundry detergent. And then they buy Unilever so that if you want to be sustainable, you'll buy from Unilever. But at the end of the day, both of these companies, the money goes back to Unilever. So the next two are kind of hand in hand, and I talk about it in my greenwashing video. The first one is companies setting super easy goals that can be achieved like pretty quickly, or giving themselves a really long timeline to achieve a pretty simple goal. Because oftentimes when we hear a company say, oh, we're going to reduce our carbon emissions by like 50% by 2030, as a consumer you might be like, that sounds really great, but you might look into it and realize that the company could do it in like 5 years or something, or they could get to 100% zero carbon. So some companies just set really easy goals that sound really great, but if you look really close, you realize it's a pretty easy thing to achieve, and it's just there for marketing. And then the other one is setting super ambitious goals, which sounds great, but oftentimes companies set really ambitious goals and then they don't actually do anything to achieve them. So they get this really great press of, oh my god, they're going to be super sustainable, but then they're not actually going to work towards it. So they got the marketing, but they didn't actually do the work. So I have two examples of these two types of greenwashing. They're both from Amazon. In terms of achieving an easy goal, Amazon has set a goal of getting to carbon neutral, but if you read the fine print, you realize that it's only for their own like personal operations and not by like their third-party distributors, and most of the impact that Amazon produces is by third-party sellers. So them going carbon neutral isn't really that big of a pie in terms of the emissions. So that's a pretty easy goal, because they're just ignoring all the other parts of their carbon footprint. And then the other example in terms of setting a really ambitious goal, also Amazon, because Jeff Bezos put out this whole statement of how he's going to donate, I can't remember, like it was like $1 billion or something, or like a couple $1 million to sustainable brands and to people like in the sustainability sphere. And then we haven't really heard much since he announced this like last fall. So like we're still waiting for the money to be sent out. Like, is he going to do it? Is he not? It doesn't matter, because Amazon already had the good press of, oh my god, they're going to invest in sustainability. And then another example of this is Shell, who they put out this whole advertising campaign that they were going to invest in solar, but they actually spent more money in the advertisement than they actually did in researching and implementing solar energy in their business model. So it's just a lot of companies just talk a lot about like how they're going to be sustainable, but they don't put in the effort. And I think of that as greenwashing, because they're going to get all this awesome press for being sustainable, and people aren't going to follow up and see if they actually committed to what they said they were going to do. So the next kind of greenwashing that I saw a lot is flowers, earth, mother nature, just talking about eco-friendliness and like saying happy Earth Day and all these things, but then doing nothing afterwards. Once again, this is companies benefiting from the good press of like, oh my god, they're talking about sustainability, oh my god, they said happy Earth Day. But if you say happy Earth Day, but then you're just going to continue to emit a bunch of carbon, do you actually believe in Earth Day? I don't think so. This would be almost like if someone was like, had BLM in their Instagram bio, but they still were racist. Like, it doesn't do anything. If you're not going to put in the work and effort, then I don't want to hear you say Happy Earth Day, because clearly you don't understand what Earth Day is. So now let's talk about some of the examples of greenwashing that we saw, because there are so many good ones from this year. I think my favorite one, and this is the one this is what made me want to make this video on greenwashing, is the I am a plastic bottle. The memes that came out of this, so good. This like company just really did it for me in terms of the memes. So they took a plastic bottle, wrapped it in paper, said it's a paper bottle, and then sold it, and people were just not having it. This is the most frustrating kind of greenwashing, because by them doing this, they're just putting out more emissions just for the clout and not actually being more sustainable, and so it's doing more harm than good. And I just think it's really and I hate that so much. The next one is H&M, and they also got a lot of flack for the campaign that they put out. I'm going to link this amazing video that I saw about H&M and greenwashing and their kind of latest conscious collection. And if you watch the ad, it's them basically talking about the recycling program. And once again, if you look at it on the surface, it sounds great because they're recycling clothing. But if you read a little bit deeper, you'll realize that you buy their clothes, you give it back to them to get recycled, and then you get points to buy more clothes. How can you be sustainable by buying more clothes? Like, it doesn't make any sense. The least they could do is just give you like a cash voucher or something, some kind of points where you could buy food or something that's essential. But no, you buy H&M clothing, you go recycle it, and you get more money to buy H&M clothing. It's just feeding over consumerism, and it's once again doing more harm than good. Something that's really shady about their whole recycling program is that a lot of times it's really difficult to recycle clothing, especially super cheap, like fast fashion clothing, because it has a lot of mixed materials, so it's hard to turn it into something else. And they don't tell you that. They don't tell you how hard it is to recycle clothing. All they tell you is that it will be recycled. And I feel like what they probably do is just send it to a thrift store. They don't tell you that though in the commercial. The commercial's so happy, it's so sustainable, they're frolicking in the meadows, but they don't tell you about what happens with the clothing after it gets recycled, because you don't need to know that. The next one, and this is kind of a theme that I saw a lot, and not surprised, is companies that basically got celebrities in general, just celebrities, to talk about their company in like a sustainable way. One that I saw a lot, and I'm still seeing these commercials, is Billie Eilish with like a climate change person. This commercial is basically them having a conversation on sustainability. You're telling me Nike wants to talk about sustainability now? There's like another one, I think it was H&M and some actress, and they had this whole commercial, and it was just talking about H&M and sustainability, but the face of it was like a celebrity. Basically what they're trying to do is to get you to support them by putting forth someone who you trust, someone like Billie Eilish or this actress, I forget who it was. But at the end of the day, if a company is unsustainable, Billie Eilish saying it is does not make it sustainable. So I just thought that was really shady. And Nike, of all people, talking about sustainability, please. So the next one is, this was a meme that I saw, and I just thought this was so funny and encompassed a lot of the kinds of greenwashing that we saw. I feel like this meme is basically just the definition of greenwashing, because BP, an oil company, talking about sustainability just doesn't make any sense. They're not actually trying to be sustainable, and it's just all a marketing ploy to make you think they are sustainable. It doesn't matter how much BP talks about it, at the end of the day, they're just an oil company. And I believe they changed the name. It used to be like British Petroleum, but they changed it to Beyond Petroleum to make you think, okay, so they're not just doing oil, they're doing other things. But no, most of their energy still comes from oil, and they're not going to stop investing in that. So the next one that I saw was Vogue, and I really wanted to talk about this because fashion companies are kind of notorious for greenwashing, because clothing is obviously, like, fast fashion is something that a lot of people over the years have been talking a lot about. A lot of people quit buying from fast fashion, me included. So a lot of fashion companies are obviously trying to make themselves look more sustainable, like H&M or Zara, for example. And Vogue isn't technically like a fashion company, but they still are in the fashion industry. And they put out this Jan Arthus Bertrand's breathtaking photographs taken from above depict the natural beauty of our planet, raising awareness of the importance of protecting it. And this was Vogue talking about protecting Earth when they're in the fashion industry, which is one of the biggest polluters. And it's just really funny to me that a company like Vogue is talking about sustainability and how amazing the Earth is. And then the other tweet that I saw I want to talk about is from Nestle, and it says, on our journey to net zero, KitKat is joining our growing list of brands going carbon neutral. By 2025, KitKat will achieve carbon neutrality by reducing emissions in sourcing, ingredients, manufacturing, and distribution. Once again, Nestle, a very unsustainable company, is talking about reducing emissions when they're still going to be packaging everything in plastic. Like, it's just so weird to me that these companies think they can get away with like tweeting on Earth Day, we're gonna be sustainable, when every other week, every other day in the year they're unsustainable. Like, come on. And also, I didn't talk about carbon neutrality earlier, but there's kind of an iffy nature to carbon neutrality, especially with a brand that is already unsustainable, is packaging in plastic, isn't the most ethical brand. Them saying they're going carbon neutral is like the least they could do. It's not somewhere where you can stop when it comes to sustainability. Companies should be doing more than just being carbon neutral, but a lot of companies are just stopping there because as a consumer, you hear carbon neutral and you think sustainable, so they think they can just be carbon neutral and stop at that, and that's just not it. Here's another one that I found. This is from Zara, another fashion company. We use hashtag #JoinLife label to classify all garments that have been manufactured using more sustainable processes and raw materials, which help to reduce our environmental impact. As you can see from this tweet, there's a lot of language that's like a little positive but not really definitive. So for example, they say they classify all the garments, meaning it doesn't mean that all of their garments are sustainable. They'll tell you which ones are, but it's not which ones are sustainable, it's which ones are more sustainable. But what's more sustainable? Technically natural gas is more sustainable than oil, but you can't turn around and say natural gas is sustainable, if that makes any sense. And then they also say it helps us to reduce our environmental impact. How does classifying which of your millions of garments, of which most are unsustainable, how does you saying which ones are sustainable help reduce your impact if most of them are unsustainable to begin with? Make it make sense. Here's a tweet from Amazon that I saw. Climate change is an urgent issue and we're using our size and scale to help protect our environmental communities. Here's what we're doing to reach net zero carbon by 2040 and help you shop more sustainably. They mean net zero in their own personal impact by like Amazon products and their own distribution and not third-party distributors. And then it also says, we're making smarter packaging choices with smaller and lighter packages so we can pack more orders into every delivery and make fewer trips and burn less fuel. Once again, like a company like Amazon, which is basically the height of capitalism and the height of world consumerism, is saying we're going to make our products a little bit more sustainable. We're not going to tell you to buy less. We're not going to push you to buy more ethical products. We're just going to make it a little bit better packaging, and so we can ship you more stuff in less packaging. It's just, it doesn't cancel out and it doesn't make Amazon sustainable. That was all the tweets that I saw and I screenshotted, but I just thought it was really interesting going through all of these on Earth Day and seeing which ones I thought were the most hypocritical or just hilarious. And some of the comments on these tweets was just really fun to see because a lot of it was people clowning the brands for trying to be sustainable and people correctly saying, wait, why are you talking about sustainability if every other month you literally don't care? So now let's talk about solutions, because I think it's really important when we talk about things like greenwashing or any other climate change issue to kind of look at what you as a consumer can do, how you can kind of protect yourself from greenwashing, and I've come up with a couple things that I want to tell you guys about. The first one is, if you don't need something, don't buy it. If you don't need a dress, don't buy it. Like, a sustainable product is only sustainable if you need it. So if you just stopped buying things just because, so you should never buy something just because it's sustainable. Even when it comes to like zero waste swaps, if you don't need the swap, don't get it because it's more sustainable to just buy nothing. So the next one is, if you do need something, don't look at the packaging, don't look at the advertising, because that's never going to tell you if something is sustainable. Look at the ingredients, look at the manufacturing, and see if it's going to last, if it's made from good materials and all that, because that's what makes something sustainable, and not the packaging, not if it's green or has a leaf on it. So to counteract that, don't be super worried about getting the most sustainable thing every single time. So this is something that I've struggled with in the past, especially with when I was super like new to the environmental movement, because I would look at every product and read labels, and it can get really stressful. So don't worry if you do get kind of sucked into greenwashing, because it's inevitable, and there's so much greenwashing out there that it's not your fault if you fall for something. You learn and you kind of get better at it. So don't worry about every single product, and in the future, once you kind of get more and more accustomed to which products are good or bad, you're going to get better at figuring out which products are or are not sustainable. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video on greenwashing, because this is something that has been on my mind a lot since April. There's like one company, I believe, that I can't remember if it was Nestle or Coca-Cola, but they came out with like a plastic bottle that had like 10% less plastic or something like that. And it was like, but it's still in a plastic bottle. That's the best you can do. Like, we don't need less plastic, we need zero plastic. Thank you very much. It's just things like that that really irk me, and I hope that by watching this video you're more aware of it and you can make smarter decisions in the future. If you enjoyed this video, of course don't forget to like it, and also comment down below if you want to comment. Also, thank you to my Patreons for helping me to make amazing videos. I post kind of extra content, behind the scenes, things like that. So if you're interested, you can join my Patreon. It'll be in the description. Subscribe if you want to subscribe, I guess. And also follow me on Instagram and Twitter, where I kind of post more lifestyle, behind the scenes, cute pictures of me in Paris, things like that. But I think that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.